Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Here's a question. What beneficial effects are you making on the world with your knowledge? Hello and thank you for joining us for another exciting edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. We have a great package for you today, so don't go anywhere. There's more to discover after this.
Let us resolve our family disputes peacefully. A family is a circle of love, support, and strength. Violence has no place.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Friday, September 23, 2022. Jamaica has reiterated its call for international recognition of reparatory justice as a necessary path to healing and the restoration of dignity and progress for people of African descent. Prime Minister Andrew Holness reaffirmed the push for restitution as he addressed the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly on Thursday. Mr. Holness reasoned that the world cannot move forward without adequately addressing the past. He added that there's an inescapable duty for economic redress for historical injustices meted out to people of African descent. While acknowledging the sensitivity of the issue, the Prime Minister said bold steps must be taken to right the wrong.
The world cannot turn a blind eye to the systemic imbalances which persist after centuries of exploitation. If our moral standards today, on which we claim a higher civilization, acknowledges that actions in the past which generated wealth for some by depriving others of their freedom were wrong, then that same moral standard must lead those who benefited from the wrongs of the past and claim a higher civilization today to repair that which their morality now acknowledges to be an injustice.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has called on the international community to declare a war on guns. The initiative, he says, will be similar to the war on drugs being waged in developing countries and which is being aided by countries around the world. Speaking at the United Nations General Assembly Thursday, the Prime Minister urged countries to do more to stem the flow of small arms into the island. He said the wide availability of illegal guns and ammunition has significantly affected crime and violence in Jamaica.
Jamaica does not manufacture guns, but our population suffers from the effects of widely available guns. The countries that manufacture weapons that are available to the public must implement stronger measures to ensure that those weapons do not end up on the streets and in the hands of people for whom they were not intended.
National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says the police are doing their utmost best to find the criminals involved in Sunday's attack at a football match in Spring Village, St. Catherine. The incident resulted in 3 deaths and several others injured. Dr. Chang, along with Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson and other members of the Police High Command, visited the community on Wednesday to meet with the grieving families. He explained that many of the recent steps taken by the government are aimed at preventing persons from obtaining illegal firearms while also strengthening the police force to protect citizens.
Short term is to provide the police with more resources, to work closely with the community members, seek to expand our community's security and safety branch with this community work. Look at how we can keep the neighborhood watch communities going, because we have to protect the citizens and we need the citizens help in preventing these groups of criminals from operating the way they're operating.
Transport Minister Audley Shaw says the concerns of public transport operators in St. Andrew West Rural who withdrew their services last week will be addressed. Minister Shaw says following the protest, a meeting was held with the police, the Transport Authority, the operators, and the relevant associations.
We hear your concerns, and we are working on all fronts to ensure that issues are addressed as best as possible.
Transport operators who work on the Lawrence Tavern and Stony Hill routes in St. Andrew to Halfway Tree and downtown Kingston took strike action last Monday and Tuesday. Among their concerns are the seizure of vehicles, the need for road improvements, and a fare increase. Minister Shaw says while he has given a commitment to have more dialogue with stakeholders to address the concerns, PPV operators must play their part to maintain order and adhere to the rules of the road. Students and residents of Garvey Square in Norwood St. James will benefit from the new Wi-Fi access point installed in the community by the Universal Service Fund, USF, on Tuesday. Speaking at the Wi-Fi launch, Chief Executive Officer of the Universal Service Fund, Daniel Dawes, said the USF is continuing its mandate to increase internet connection across the island, where each constituency will have 3 free Wi-Fi sites.
It is to be used for educational purposes, assignments, online classes, research, and all that pertain to education. You don't have to go into Montego Bay to pay your light bill, to pay your water rate, to pay tuition fee.
Member of Parliament for Northwest St. James, Dr. Horace Chang, welcomed the initiative, adding that it will greatly help students to get the best education.
The internet opens a new world to you, the virtual world, where education is available, knowledge is available, and teachers are acquiring the skill to guide our students, and that's why this Wi-Fi service is crucial.
And finally, as the island braces for rainfall over the weekend, the government is activating its hurricane preparedness measures. These include the activation of hurricane shelters and the issuing of flash flood watches or warnings. According to the Meteorological Service of Jamaica, the island is expected to start feeling the impact of increased showers and gusty winds on Saturday. Small craft operators and fisherfolk are therefore being advised to return inland and not to venture out to sea. The Met Office says it will continue to monitor the system and is encouraging persons to pay special attention to further bulletins and take heed to warnings given. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Breast milk is the ideal food for babies and can satisfy all the infant's nutritional needs for the first 6 months of life. It provides much needed antibodies to protect them against all kinds of infections. Babies exclusively breastfed have less episodes of diarrhea, acute respiratory infection, and skin conditions. Breastfeeding also benefits mommies too, through decreased risk of breast and ovarian cancers, improved postpartum recovery, and reduced iron loss. Breastfeed your baby to give him or her the best start for a healthy life. Remember, breastfeeding is best.
It is true that many low-income people are unable to own property due to institutional inequities and limitations. However, you might be sitting on a catalyst for wealth creation if you have access to land but haven't gone so far as to secure a title. You'll find the information you need to claim your inheritance in our upcoming feature.
If you are a landowner who does not have a registered title, you can apply for one now. A registered title is a document that indicates you own the land, and if you don't have one, another person can lay claim to your land. The process of registering for land titles begins here. Here are the initial steps you need to take. Step 1. Obtain and sign an application form as stipulated by the Registration of Titles Act. Step 2 is to obtain a statutory declaration, which is merely a letter from a local resident attesting to the applicant's ownership of the land. Step 3 is similar to Step 2 in that you must obtain a supporting statutory statement from 2 people who have known the property for at least 30 years in order to demonstrate ownership rights through possession. This is necessary if the petitioner lacks 40 years' worth of documentary evidence of ownership. The 4th step requires you to obtain a current certificate of payment for property taxes. You will also need a survey-checked diagram if the land is being registered by plan. After that, present any other document you may have proving ownership, such as a receipt, transfer, or probate form. Finally, you must pay an entry fee, which is equal to 1% of the property's value. You must pay this cost when you provide your paperwork to the assessor at the title office. You will receive an official receipt with the name of the applicant, the document number, and the receipt number printed on it. Your application number is printed on the receipt and must be used when you are contacted about the application. Once your application has been submitted successfully, you must save your receipt. Processing takes anywhere from 6 months to a year. If a rejection notification is sent out during that time, the processing period will restart if you want to reapply. Pay your property taxes, have your land surveyed, and remember, land titles can be used as a resource to safeguard your future and the future of your children. To learn more about how to obtain a land title today, visit the National Land Agency's website at www.nla.gov.jm.
Obey the school rules. The rules are there to ensure discipline. The rules are there to ensure that our children focus on their education. And so if the school says it's brown shoes, not black, we want you to make that investment on behalf of your child. If the school says a tie, please don't send your child without a tie. I know that there are a lot of pressures on you as parents, but we are continuing to ask you to make that investment in your child. We want our schools to be incident-free this school year, and we can only do that with the cooperation of our parents, our teachers, the staff, everyone in the community.
Don't put off setting up the proper financial plan for your child's education. Make sure your child is prepared for the next educational level so that when the right opportunity comes, money won't stand in the way. If you're unsure how to do that, take a look at our next feature.
Hello everyone, I'm Xavier Campbell, an educator, financier and entrepreneur. Education is very important to our development and can take years to achieve the highest level. It is also very costly and some persons will have a difficult time finding the money up front, especially in the absence of careful financial planning. So, within the next few minutes, I want to share a few steps that will guide your approach to financing your child or children's education. Let's start with, when should we begin that financial planning? According to the Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Although there is no perfect time to begin planning for your child's tertiary education, starting as early as possible is the best way to ensure you are prepared financially and avoid the common pitfalls. Having a step-by-step plan is the best way to ensure that you are able to finance your child's education without sacrificing your personal financial plan. There are several things to consider when planning for your child or children's education. However, most notable among them are parents must identify the future costs of tertiary education and have a clear sum in mind of what their target will be. Then work their way backwards to present and see how best they can earn to realize the future goal. A clear financial plan should be put in place either by the parents themselves or with the help of a professional financial planner. The discipline is what follows the plan to ensure that all financial objectives are being taken care of in terms of allocations and meeting the various timelines set out by the plan. Once all incomes and expenditures remain in accordance to the plan, by the time your child reaches maturity, their tertiary education funding would have been readily available to offset the costs associated. Now your options could be savings or investments. Both are good, but let's look at them closely. There are basically two ways to make money. One, you work for money. 2, your money works for you. So savings is the process of putting aside a portion of your income for future use. In this case, we are talking about education. So if you're going to save, you need to put aside some of your income to ensure that you're able to offset the cost of your education in the future. While investment is you putting money aside that will generally earn interest over the period of time that you put it aside for. Therefore, having a plan inclusive of savings and investments can put parents in a better position to offset the future expenses of education. Firstly, if you're not financially literate, I would advise you to seek assistance from a professional financial advisor to ensure you are getting qualified advice that will help you achieve your goal. Here are the 5 steps of planning your child's education. Step 1, set target date. Step 2, find current cost of the education. Step 3, find target amount. Step 4, estimate the returns you can generate. And step 5, calculate the monthly contribution. Here are some additional things to consider. A partner plan is a very good thing. Creating a savings account and/or fixed deposit. Invest in one of the various educational products available from a preferred financial institution. And maintain your discipline while ensuring that the projected amounts are allocated at the appropriate time to achieve your financial goal effectively and efficiently. One of the most common mistakes that parents make is that they think that they need this large lump sum. But as the Jamaican proverbs go, every mickle make a muckle, so therefore they can start small and then build onwards. Now, another mistake that they normally would make is the fact that they think that savings alone would help in terms of offsetting the cost in the future. What I would recommend is for them to use a culmination of both savings and investments in order to achieve their financial goal. So the first disadvantage I want to speak about is the inability to set financial goals. So you not being able to set goals will also lead to you being demotivated and lack the knowledge that is required to achieve that goal. And as a result of that demotivation and that lack of knowledge that is required, then there is no direction. So we consider it to be a lack of direction, right? And if there's a lack of direction, then what will happen is that poor financial outcomes would be the result of that. In concluding, planning for your child or children's education is not just dependent on the numbers. Rather, it's a combination of several factors, namely social, personal beliefs, religious, your way of approaching, and general outlook at life. However, the cost of education on a rise. Parents are looking at various investment vehicles to secure their child or children's future. Judicious planning for your children's future is essential, and empowering them with an education plan is a wise thing to do. Start to reap maximum benefits very early. Create a sustainable future for them to bloom in.
How many more must die because of reckless drivers? How fast is too fast? Make we take time, no man. Obey the rules of the road. Drive with care.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Never run a red light, drive within the speed limit, buckle up and observe the law are just a few of the guidelines for driving safely. But what if you should get into a collision despite following the regulations? The first thing to do is remain calm and avoid getting into an altercation if it involves another motorist. Then you must file a report.
You know how they say accidents do happen, unexpectedly and often unintentionally. Though road safety experts no longer define these unfortunate incidents involving motor vehicles as accidents, they're certainly never intended. Unfavorable weather conditions, objects on the road, your miscalculation while driving, or another driver can cause crashes, even for the best defensive drivers. That's exactly why it's important to know how to respond in these situations. So, what do you do at that exact moment? What should be your next steps? And when and how should you file a police report?
For the number of reports that come to this station, perhaps it's on a basis of about 10 to 15 per day. That's the number of accidents per day. So after a road traffic accident, person should first try to clear the roadway if they are obstructing the traffic for other motorists. Secondly, drivers are expected to exchange vehicle documents, and the document should include their registration certificate, certificate of fitness, insurance certificate, and your driver's license information. Those are the essential 4 pieces of information that should be provided to both parties after an accident. Contact information is optional, but you have cases where a person tries to settle outside insurance, and that's now a civil matter. It's an agreement between both parties. So if they want to exchange contact information, that's also optional, depending on the intention that they have in terms of fixing the vehicle outside insurance or what.
Your next step? Making a police report about the collision. This is always a good idea. That way you have proof of exactly what happened and the scope of any injuries.
In terms of our approach as police officers for a motor vehicle accident, first the critical thing is to check for injuries, make sure that persons are okay. If there's a need for persons to be assisted to the hospital for any sort of treatment, we should make sure we render assistance to persons in need of that care first. Secondly, we check for the damage for the vehicles, make sure there is no obstruction along the roadway, and then we can treat with the document or the exchange of particulars between both parties. After making a report of a motor vehicle accident, the next step that persons are advised to do is to make a report to their insurance company, and that's for another motorist. As it relates to a pedestrian persons who are injured, they are also advised to get the assistance of an attorney to file a personal injury claim against the party that is liable in the accident. For follow-up visits, what we do, we have cases where persons are seriously injured, some of which are not able to make it to the station to give a report in the first instance. So what we try to do, whether the persons are hospitalized, we ensure that visits are made and that the person's conditions are updated as we go along. As we through the investigation, we ensure that the person's conditions are updated along the procedure.
But are you always required to report traffic collisions?
Not in all cases a report must be filed for accidents. We have situations where it could be a very minor mishap. For example, someone could be reversing from their garage, they could bump their gate. So in those cases, it's not necessary for them to make a report. But for other situations involving another motorist, or a case where a pedestrian or a property is damaged, a report is expected to be made, because persons at times are expected to make claims, whether from their insurance company or their attorneys, based on the damage received or the injuries they've sustained.
Reports from the Road Safety Unit shows that up to April 26, 139 lives have been cut short because of road crashes this year, with over 100 of those being males. And for the corresponding period last year, 136 lives were lost in road crashes. On a more global level, studies from the World Health Organization (WHO) show that approximately 1.35 million people die each year as a result of road traffic crashes, and 3% of most countries' gross domestic product is spent on road traffic crashes.
The most common cause of motor vehicle accidents, from my understanding, it's mostly impatience on the part of some of the drivers, and lack of knowledge as to how the roadways should be used. And I also believe the implementation of traffic signs at various areas would also aid the process, because most drivers are not aware of what to do at various parts of the roadway.
In the face of such figures, even the most careful driver can suddenly encounter a bit of bad fortune on the road. You know that scene. Decisions can be like car accidents, sudden and full of consequences. So how about making the right decision to be responsible road users today?
Reach the next part, I show them cut it. Talking about that, listen to this. Pen sends a message. Disaster do happens. Be prepared. The municipal corporation reminds us of hurricane, earthquake, flooding, you name it, and preparedness.
Mommy, we really have to take this thing seriously.
Mommy, where's the emergency shelters?
Samir.
Primary school, churches, community centers. Know your nearest emergency shelter. Protect your family during any natural disaster. Be prepared. Visit the ODPEM website at odpem.org.jm to find the shelter listing for your parish. Know your emergency shelters.
One seed can become many. A competent farmer will tell you to plant your seed, and in due time, you can reap the harvest. And so it's crucial to start out on the proper foot. If planting and reaping is an activity in which you would like to commit your time and effort, here are some things you should think about. Is there a market for the crop you are considering? Are the climatic conditions suitable for the crop you've identified? Is the soil suitable for your crop, as having the right pH balance and nutrients to help the plants flourish? Is there enough water available to facilitate the crop's growth and development? Then if you think you have taken all the necessary actions, for further proceedings, speak with the Rural Agricultural Development Authority RADA officer in your area. And remember, your contribution in making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business will not go unnoticed.
Everyone has the right to freedom of expression, even our children.
My voice matters.
Every child has a right to speak up. It's not like they can stay quiet forever, and everything they have to say is important. So that's why I think my voice matters.
At school and at home, every child's voice should matter.
In this school, nobody is more and nobody is less.
My teachers, my parents, they know who I am because they understand me and they know what I understand from what I don't.
I will encourage the students to do their best. I will say that even if they do not get something they want, they might get something even better.
When emotions are close to the surface and we contemplate on life, we will all remember the phrase, "A child shall lead them."
My voice matters.
We've come to the end of our program. Get a recap of all you saw here and more on our website at gis.gov.jm. From all of us here at the GIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Bye for now.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.